Hey everyone, this is a clip from a recent episode of Another Pass, where we talk about movies and all the struggles that go into making them. If you like it, check out the whole podcast. You can find it at certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah, like really incredible work. And like honestly, looking at this movie where there is a very different tone, there is a very different ethos going into like what this movie is versus the first one. One thing I really noticed is that the saturation is much higher in this movie. Like the first one's very washed out, and you can really see it when you like look at their headbands. Like the red for Raphael pops in a way that it just didn't in the first movie. Like all the colors in general are just like way, like I said, like the hue is just like cranked way up.
Yeah, I think that went along with the tone shift, right? Because like everything in this movie is they're not in the sewer anymore, so like I guess maybe the dampness is not wearing out the clothes, and you know, and like everything's a little bit brighter, and the sets are a little bit brighter, and you know, so I think that also goes along with just like the tone change of the film.
Yeah, it felt like a lot of the places they were fighting and things like that, like they're fighting inside of a little tiny, you know, mini mall. And things like that, you know, those choices they made so they can have the turtles be much more jokey and things like that. So the brightness of the humor, the brightness of the sets, the brightness of the turtles, yeah, it all goes together.
And I mean, it makes sense. Like, you know, there's a big turnover in terms of the production staff. Like, Steve Barron did not continue onto this movie after the first one. So it's Michael Pressman, who is mostly known for doing TV work, especially TV movies. So there's a lot of even TV lighting in a lot of scenes. Like the areas where there's like more dramatic lighting, it's usually additional stuff, like the lights in the mini mall at the beginning or when they're at the concert. But you very rarely have like dark shadows really delineating any of the scenes that they're in. Even scenes that are like outside and it's dark usually are very well lit because it's New York. Like when they're in the rooftop looking at the canister for the first time, it's very rare that you have, you know, harsh shadows like actually obscuring anything on this, which was pretty common in the first movie. Mm-hmm. So it's just a very, this feels more like a TV thing. And I know that the one of the notes from the producers is they wanted this to be more like the cartoon, and that's all part of going into that process.
And you know, another way that you know, that taking that note and putting it into like being more like the cartoon. If you notice, the turtles, you know, they've all got their weapons and things like that, but very rarely do they actually use them on the bad guys. Whereas in the first movie, you know, they were actually, you know, fighting with the weapons. These were more like the weapons are extra props for us to do different ninja kicks and things like that. So
yeah, they use the weapons, but they use the weapons more for leverage. Like Donatello stabs the ceiling and then uses it to disappear, according to him, and then he kicks someone from the ceiling. So, you know, stuff like that where it's a little more not fully slapsticky because there is still martial arts behind it, but there's a lot more humorous moments in their battles.
Yeah, but it is definitely toned down. Like the big note was like, yeah, less attacking people with weapons. I'm not sure if I even see Raph's sai at any point in this movie, which is just a purely stabbing weapon. So like, what are you gonna do with it aside from disarm someone? Maybe. Like that wouldn't already be like kind of rough on kids. Like in the first movie, Leonardo had several spots where he like goes for like a real swipe at someone with the sword. Like usually there's a duck or an avoidance or a block, but like if he had connected, he would have just like taken a foot soldier's head off. And like those are humans; they're not robots like in the show. And in this, it's none of that. Like, you know, and they're. So, like, weirdly, this gets into the whole thing where, like, the worst weapon is also the one that parents were most afraid of, and also legitimately could hurt the kids the most, which is the nunchucks. So, parents groups, especially in the UK, really objected to nunchucks in use, and as a result, like, they weren't really allowed to use it at all. There's only one scene where someone actually like wields them around, and that's actually April O'Neil when like Kino finds it. And there's a fake out scene earlier where he takes sausages that are like linked together and uses them as if they were nunchucks, and that was cut in the UK.
It was cut.
Really?
I did not know.
That's a shame because the series of puns that comes from that scene are fantastic. They're wonderful.
Yeah. Combat cold cuts.
The missing link.
All of that. Yeah. Gold.
And next time I'll use mustard.
I'm so sorry to those people in the UK that didn't get to see that.
Well, the Blu-ray put the scene back in. But
good.
Is mustard some kind of an insult in the UK? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Oh, those silly Americans talking about mustard. Remember, if you like that clip, check out the podcast. You can find it at certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.